I don't know. We'll see. Got it. It says you're recording it, so great.
Okay.
Chef Edwardo Garcia here. It is so nice to be here with all of you as a closing speaker for this year's Phoenix World Burn Congress. We all get here through many different ways for many different reasons. Some of us are patients, survivors, others are critical care professionals, friends, family as well. We are all here for the one same singular point, though, is that we have all had an intimate experience with a traumatic burn. That is what binds us. That's not bad. That's not necessarily good. That is our truth. That is why we're here. Beyond that, we are also here to find the therapy, the resilience, the community, the support, and ultimately the strength to embrace our scars, to embrace these challenges, and find continued growth in our lives. Naturally, some of you may know my story, others may not, and I'd like to start with my story in this closing address as I share my experience and how I came to where I am today in a full and resolute belief that we do need this therapy, we do need this community. This is one of the most important things we can have as a burn survivor. 10 years ago, I was electrocuted in a bizarre outdoor hunting injury. 2,400 volts arced into my left hand, which resulted in this amputation. I ended up being airlifted to the University of Utah's burn trauma ICU unit, and I spent around 50 days there and underwent nearly 24 surgeries. I recall when being discharged, I recall on that day and surrounding that day, one of my nurses, and still to this day, dear friend, Nurse Bradley Wiggins, he shared with me some advice and encouragement. And his advice and encouragement was this: "Hey, Eduardo, I believe you're going to go home, and I believe you're going to recover strongly. I believe you're going to get back on the horse, so to speak. And yet at some point, you'll find yourself at a place where maybe the work and the growth you're experiencing is not filling in all the cracks. You may find yourself not being able to connect all the dots. That is where therapy comes in." And then his invitation then was, we have a burn camp for adults, and there's others throughout the nation too. And he was offering the one that he helps manage. And he said, "My invitation is that you come back and attend an adult burn camp when you're ready." I knew his intentions were pure and good, and yet in that moment, I was scared of leaving the ICU unit. I had no idea what recovery was going to look like. And as he knew and forecasted, in that moment, I was not ready to go to burn camp. I was ready to figure out how to get home, how to drive again, how to get back to the office again, how to get my bills paid and get back into life. And Brad, if you're listening, this is just my ultimate and deep heartfelt thanks to you, because for the next 10 years, I recovered. I worked hard on getting back into life, on healing the shrapnel, cleaning up the mess of a catastrophic injury like this. And yet I never paid attention to my scars outside of a little lotion when they cracked and they were dry. I did not look into therapy. I did not look into a camp of sorts meant to help burn survivors through that trauma. I largely figured I was going to be fine. And as Brad forecasted, I got back to my life and I got back on that horse. Well, Brad, you called me every year, once or twice, for the last 10 years, with nothing more than a hello, how are you, a check-in, everything good in your life, and then gently, so is this the year for burn camp, you'd say? Do we get to see you this year? Are you ready? And every year, something would come up. Every year, I would not necessarily come up with an excuse, but I would prioritize other things in my life over burn camp. Why do I need burn camp? What's it going to do for me? Am I really going to take a week to unplug? And so it started to become a little bit of a thorn. And on this last year, 2021, on the heels of a global pandemic that brought many of us to our knees or even lower, it was different for me when Brad called. I knew that this was the year I had to go. I was coming up on this decade anniversary of being an amputee and of my burn. And so in March of this past year, I said, all right, I'm ready. I'll sign up, I'll go. And I put the date, it was in August, I believe. I put it on the map and hung up the phone. Said, thanks, we'll see you soon. And as the summer progressed and as time goes on, my wife checked in with me, my work checked in with me. Hey, we see on your calendar, you're gone for 6 days. What are you doing or where are you going? And I felt like every time someone asked, I had this opportunity. Stay committed, stay on course, show up and go to camp, or use this as an opportunity to start talking your way out of it. And I admit to everyone here and even to myself that I'd say 8 out of 10 questions was responded with an answer that was starting to merge towards backing out. And so 2 weeks maybe before camp, Brad calls me up and he says, hey, I see you haven't registered yet, and yet I'm holding you on this list. You know, we've got X number of participants. Guy, give your seat up to someone else if you're not coming. Are you coming or are you not? I signed up. I went. Here's what I found out. Here's what I learned. Here's how it was for me. Right out of the gate, you feel like you're 8 years old again. Park here, drive there, get your bag, put a name on your water bottle. There's the bus. We'll stop for a pee break every couple hours. Okay, 40 years old, hand the reins over to someone else, let's go. And so it's almost like playing with Monopoly money in a way. It's like, it doesn't feel like real life. Nowhere else in my life am I handing someone else the reins and the keys and saying, okay, you drive, take me to wherever you're going. And off we went, 25 of us, a bus full of faculty, staff, and also other burn survivors. We headed to the Colorado River, and camp basically is a moving camp where everybody's on rafts and you're camping out at night, and over a 5-night, 6-day period, there is a bit of a adventure schedule and curriculum, if you will. And the curriculum is the therapy that I didn't see coming, that I didn't know was, you know, I had yet to experience as a burn survivor. And the way that it was dished out, the way that I came about finding myself embraced with such care and growth was kind of tricky, because what started with this excitement of being back on the bus and you know, talking to new folks, meeting new faces, and just, okay, where are we going? And that kind of rides with you for day 1 and 2. And then maybe on day 2 is where there was a session where every burn survivor there had an opportunity to share their story, to share how their scars had come about. And it was in that session where I started to feel empathy and to feel emotionally moved by the stories of someone else, their pain, their loss, the incredible tragedy of what it is to be burnt and survive. And following that session, I started to feel pain onboarded on myself. And the thought occurred, I'm not taking on their pain. I'm feeling my pain that I have not processed, that I have not managed, that I've not dealt with. Aha. So then day 3 comes on board, and I'm already a little bit kind of aware that I'm feeling something that's coming out of me, and I better be ready for it. And I don't really know how to be ready for it other than just remain open. And I think it was on day 3 that an art project comes into our midday session. And one of the faculty members is James, who leads us through a art class where we use painting and drawing as a medium to share our story, which includes our burn and our trauma. And also finishes with the depiction of, well, where are you going? Who are you today? And what are you dreaming about? And there's something about putting those facts of where you've been, what you've been through, and then what are you dreaming about, and using art. It almost became play. I don't think anyone there was a professional artist. So you're almost excused from it needing to be so perfect and serious. And it's saying, hey, here's some pastels, or here's a paintbrush, and let's gently move through these very core and foundational subject matter pieces, right? Who am I? What hurts? Why did it hurt? Where am I growing? Where am I going? And so then on day 4, yet another tool onboards. There's a rapid section. I have not felt confident in many parts of my life. I'm very active in the outdoors, and yet when it comes to water sports and swimming, I have not been confident when it comes to paddle sports. How am I going to attach to that? Or how am I going to safely right myself or save myself if I get sucked into a whirlpool? I mean, these are big rapids on the Colorado River, and there's a genuine concern and need for safety. And again, it was one of the instructors, again, it was James, who said, I got you. I'll steer in the back. You get in the front. Put your hand on there in a way that's going to fit. And into the rapids we went. And knowing I had the backup behind me, knowing I had someone with me, it encouraged me to step up and step into another place where largely I have been not afraid or rather just nervous of the unknown. How is it going to go? How am I going to do? And so throughout the camp, what happened is I realized I find this empathy within myself by listening to someone else's pain and the bravery that they're showing and sharing their story. Then I find myself starting to share my story through a medium I'm not familiar with, like painting, and it just starts coming out of me. And then I start to grow through the support of someone else's encouragement, saying, I've got you back. By day 4, I was completely sold on this experience. And I knew that when I got back to service, I was going to do this. I was going to reach out with the loudest mic I could find and the largest platform available to me to say, hey, I was not a believer. I put off therapy for 10 years. I thought I didn't need it. I needed it. I needed it badly. For me, what I found was the connection with nature, a paramount prescription for all kinds of therapy. So being outside and in the outdoors, always a bonus. Listening to the stories of others, allowing empathy to start opening up, cracking sort of my shell, allowing me to access my own pain and my own sorrow, started by listening to someone else's pain and sorrow. So kudos to the other survivors who were at camp with me this past year. Thank you for sharing so bravely. You truly invited me to find the bravery within myself to start doing this work. Then the tools and the skill sets, the painting class was the wild card for me that I did not see coming, but starting to take my emotions, my words, my thoughts, and put pen to paper through a medium other than writing, but rather drawing, allowed for a more playful journey through what has been for me a 40 years of a wild ride, with the last 10 years being a traumatic experience that I'm just now figuring out how to deal with and how to heal from. So when it comes to being a burn survivor, when it comes to being a critical care professional, or to the community, the family, the friends that may also be listening or maybe surrounded by this group, thank you for being there for us. Thank you for encouraging us. Thank you for supporting us to believe in our own growth and our own therapy, our own recovery. I truly believe that through sharing our story, through telling others what it is to have gone through what we have been through, we will be seen, we will be heard, and we do belong. Thank you so very much to the Phoenix World Burn Congress for having me, and to all of you out there, much love from me to you. Adios.